So I got the turbo put on. I took out each one of these and added anti-seize, the exhaust bolts, manifold bolts. We already covered the lower fuel neck or water neck, and then the pump, the water pump. And I've started to put the injection pump on. I'm just going to set it right in the middle. Well, that explains that. I snapped off a fitting, a fuel fitting, because I put it in the wrong spot. But anyway, that's that. I've got this, the AFC thingy bob goes like this. They're kind of nifty. They just push in and it grabs, and there you go. So now I got boost reference for the AFC. I need to find another nut. Missing that one. I have a feeling that oil pressure sensor is going to be a problem with my vacuum pump and power steering pump. So we'll see. Gotta go help my neighbor with something here shortly, but then I'll be back at it. Alright, never mind the Chex Mix. Gotta snack on something. So I got the injection pump on. Honestly, probably the smartest thing would have been to install this first before the cylinder had this giant overhang, which is a intake plenum, just has a lot of volume to it. Plus it holds the fuel filter head, and yes, I tightened down that. The supply line from the filtered fuel into the injection pump, that's all snagged up and tightened up. I would recommend putting this on first and then putting this on, but it is what it is, right? Got my oil drain line hooked up. It's nice and clean. I kind of like it that way. So actually it's an oil supply. The drain is this guy down here. It's going to drain into the block. I'll put a new hose on that. Yeah, I'm going to keep tackling. This is a bung for my coolant temperature sensor. I'm going to put a new set of mechanical gauges in this thing. The oil pressure side is going to be a little tough because I had a mechanical gauge. I'll show you real quick. So this is the feed for the vacuum pump, the Wabco vacuum pump and power steering pump setup. This is where the usual oil pressure sensor goes. But I had another oil pressure sensor on top of my housing over here that worked really great. It sat right here. It was nice. But because I'm going with this style, I lose that. It's no big deal. Just is what it is. Adapt and overcome. I got various fittings. I do know that if you make too many 90s and stuff, the oil pressure does not work right. So, yeah, I'll have to work on that, but I'll get something dialed in. So, here we go. I'm going to keep tackling this side of the motor. Probably get the power steering pump installed and cleaned up. I've set the timing on the pump just to middle of the way. I had to find a nut, so always, that one right there, always save extra bolts and nuts. Those come in handy for sure. See you in a second. So here's what I've come up with. This gauge is going to go away because I'm going to run a line, so this whole bulk is going to disappear. I'm not too worried about it. And I'm pretty sure that this will clear the injection lines. This is for the gauge cluster. It's just a pet peeve of mine when the gauge clusters don't work, so it's annoying. But I think this is going to do the job. We'll see. So it's coming straight out of the block, and then it splits off and goes both ways. Worst case scenario is that this one will be accurate and this one will be a little low, but I'm not terribly concerned about it, so we'll get it. So I'm going to try to slam in the vacuum pump, which I got down here, and we'll go from there.
It's a 19. 19.
There we go. Alright, so I got the oil feed line installed. That runs down, hugs the block, and then goes to the bottom of the vacuum pump. Next, I'm going to work on getting the fuel lines installed. I had this one and I wanted to use it because it was the right size, but it was just not bending the right way and I didn't want to screw with it. So, alright. Well, this is just a time lapse of me getting the hard lines that go from the delivery valves up to the injectors. They're hard metal, designed to send a ton of pressure from the pump straight to the injector, and it supplies enough fuel that it overcomes the mechanical resistance of some springs inside the injectors. Kind of a bit of a shop talk, but needless to say, these lines are pretty darn important, so you treat them relatively well. They can suffer from vibration and cracks, and it can cause some issues, so just treat them kindly. Each one is specifically molded to go a certain way, so you got to pay attention to that. And then I'm about to explain that I'm just throwing these valve covers on, just basically to get fitment on the injection lines. So, no biggie. Alright, so I just set the valve covers on there and got them loosely done, just to keep junk out of them, although I'm not really worried about it. I got the injection lines installed. They're all loose up here because when you crank these over, you gotta crack them. And when you start seeing stuff shooting out like crazy, then you know you're ready to roll. Probably go over that later. This is a case part. Case and Cummins. They sure do a lot of stuff together, I guess. And so now I'm going to work on getting the injection pump gear on to this thing. And down here is the timing of the injection pump. The injection pump timing pin key thingy bob. So I rotated this over to TDC and then locked it in right there, so now I should be able just to throw the gear on and go from there. So join me on that ride. So it is keyed. I gotta check and see if it's supposed to be on B or what. Yeah, so you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. Okay, figured out what the timing marks are. So, the timing marks, focus. Focus. There we go. So right now it's lined with B. What I need to do is get it to F. And the way this works is, in order to get the keyway turned over to the direction it needs to be, I need to loosen those injection pump bolts, pull this gear off, and turn it a little bit. And the way I'm going to have to turn it is that direction. So, let's see. Whatever. Counterclockwise. That's what we're going to call it. So I'm going to have to do that just a little bit so that F will line up over the 0 mark. And then I'll be at factory spec for this thing. And then, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and hop to it. Why is it behaving so poorly? There we go. So that took a little bit of doing. To get this thing timed on the F, I had to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I mean, it's a very small difference. I would imagine it's just a degree or so. But I got it in there, so now I'm going to tighten it up. I'm going to Loctite this thing with blue Loctite to 140 foot-pounds. Yeah, so join me in a minute. A little bit of blue Loctite. This is not the factory nut. I bought a replacement at some point. Get you set up here. There we go. $25, $140. Jam something in the gears here. A lot of torque. All right. Magnet. There we go. That's torqued up. It's lined on F. It turned the motor just slightly, but there we go. Merry Christmas. I doubt this video is going to come out in time, but it's Christmas Eve today, and so I'm just spending a few minutes to do this. Or I head over to Mom's, have a wonderful dinner with her, my wife, and her friend Penny. So, thanks for climbing aboard. Talk to you later.